Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's morning briefing. Israeli security forces have just announced that they've finally captured the Palestinian man suspected in the killing of IDF soldier Ronen Lubarsky. Earlier this month, Lubarsky's Duvdevan unit was conducting overnight raids in a Palestinian town in the West Bank when a suspect dropped a large stone slab on his head from above. Sergeant Lubarsky passed away after fighting for his life in the hospital. The Shin Bet has named the captured suspect as 32-year-old Islam Youssef Abu Hamid. After an intense manhunt, he was arrested in a Palestinian refugee camp near Ramallah sometime last week. The arrest has been under gag order from the public until today, though. Officials say that Hamid has a long history of terror-related activities. He apparently has several brothers who are members of Hamas as well. Hamid himself had served 5 years in an Israeli prison already for work he'd done for Hamas too. Meanwhile, the country is still reeling from an attempted terror attack earlier this week. 18-year-old Shuva Malka is still in serious, though stable condition after being stabbed multiple times by a Palestinian man in Afula. The suspect was captured by officers after a short chase, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has promised that justice will be served as quickly as possible. The pressure on social media giant Twitter is rising. Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan sent a letter to Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey Tuesday demanding that his company ban accounts related to terror groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. If he doesn't, Erdan warns that legal action against Twitter in Israel can be raised. Speaking on the subject in Jerusalem, Erdan noted that, quote, "It's intolerable that organizations calling for the murder of innocents should be able to openly run Twitter accounts," end quote. And Erdan is far from alone in his call. Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked asserted last month that terror organizations switched to Twitter simply because, unlike other platforms, Twitter ignores them. Israeli law center Shurat Hadin has also long been tracking the behaviors of terror organizations online, and actually already has filed a lawsuit against Twitter Inc. on behalf of victims of terror in Paris and Brussels. The suit, which was filed in New York last year, alleges that Twitter played a documented and key role in the rise of ISIS, and that, quote, "Twitter has most brazenly refused to cut off its services to terrorists, taking the position that the tweets must flow, even if it means assisting in mass murders," end quote. Well, now Israel may be taking the same position, if Twitter doesn't tweet a different tune soon. Jewish-German 14-year-old Susanna Feldman went missing in May and was found dead in a shallow grave near Mainz, Germany, June 6th. Her murderer, 20-year-old former asylum seeker Ali Bashar, admitted to killing Susanna, though denies the charges filed against him for her rape. Initially, anti-Semitism was the main suspect for motive. But now, since little evidence has been brought forth to support this, Feldman has become more of a martyr used in the war over refugees in Europe. Suzanne Schroeder, director of the Global Islam Research Center at Goethe University in Frankfurt, says there are few women among the refugees, and that they and their European hosts are, quote, "clearly going through something I would call a culture clash," end quote. Schroeder continued that Germany needed to quickly confront this issue, as, quote, "we are no longer talking about isolated cases," end quote. Though she also stressed that she's not trying to make blanket accusations, only shine light on the reality of violence against women that has dramatically increased since millions of refugees were brought into the country. Parties like the Alternative for Germany, though, or the AfD, are using Susanna Feldman's death as a rallying cry against the majority Muslim asylum seekers and Angela Merkel for opening the border. Still, Merkel's supporters and investigators like Schroeder say the individual should be tried and not the group. A Jewish Facebook member posted similarly that if Germany had just simply ejected Ali Bashar for his past crimes and abuses, Susanna might still be alive. Where politics have failed, it looks like Twitter may be the greatest hope for peace. Iran's leaders have just rallied thousands of citizens in an anti-Israel march for Quds Day, but some Iranians are rebelling against the regime in a truly beautiful way. They've organized a Twitter campaign under the hashtag #WeStandWithIsrael, sending Israelis messages of love for all the world to see. Israel's foreign ministry says that the hashtag has already gone viral, hitting tens of thousands of tweets since last Friday. The campaign itself mirrors similar Israeli-led digital efforts to build bridges with the Iranian people. Some of them, like the Israel in Persia campaign, are even sponsored by the Israeli government. Iran's leaders, on the other hand, have consistently promised to wipe Israel off the map and mobilize terror regimes around the region to do precisely that. But the people of Iran have often risen up against the regime's hateful oppression. Many also remember the era before the 1979 Islamic Revolution, when Iran and Israel were actually close allies. For those reasons and more, the current regime regularly blocks its citizens from certain social media sites. But if these incredible messages of hope, coexistence, and peace for the people of Israel mean anything, it's that love will always find a way. So if you want to see something that'll really make you smile, search for the hashtag #WeStandWithIsrael and send a message back. Operation Protective Edge ended 4 years ago, but Israeli officials are still trying to complete one mission, and that's to bring back the bodies of IDF soldiers Hadar Goldin and Oron Shaul, whose remains are still allegedly in Hamas's possession. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman has just demanded Hamas turn over their bodies, along with Abraham Mengistu and Hisham al-Saed, who are supposedly in Hamas's captivity. Those two individuals reportedly suffer from psychiatric disorders as well, and voluntarily made their way into Gaza. The defense minister is asking for their bodies to be returned in what he calls the most humane gesture, offering additional humanitarian aid and economic assistance for Gazans in return. Hamas has repeatedly used these 4 bodies as a negotiation tool, however, for Israel to return prisoners to Gaza. Lieberman is pushing at least for Gaza to allow the Red Cross to make the trip into the Strip to see the Israeli prisoners and missing persons. If the 4 are returned, Lieberman believes a huge window of opportunity will then open for Gaza. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.